have. Also during this webinar, I'm going to be flipping to and from the actual StayFi dashboard because definitely everything I show you, I want to then show you how to actually do it in your StayFi account. So that's clear and easy for you to understand. Sweet. So today's agenda is all about email marketing and some case studies. So we're going to talk about some of the new features that we have in StayFi Email Plus, and then a whole bunch of advice around the different types of templates that we have now in StayFi using our pre-built email builder, and then go through a bunch of examples to kind of inspire you on what you should be sending. And then, of course, if you go to our YouTube channel, you'll find more information about email marketing and all the other features within StayFi and how to use them the best that you can. Just a little bit more information. If you aren't already using it, StayFi has within it a full service email marketing tool, i.e., something that you can use to replace a MailChimp. And there's some really exciting things that we have in our tool that you're not going to find in any other email marketing tool, just because our tool is obviously built specifically for the vacation rental industry. So I'm going to show a bunch of what we call our one-click campaigns, which are both automations and newsletters. Essentially, if you don't want to go through the trouble of designing an email, if you're not familiar with using like a drag and drop editor like that we have as well, we have all of these one-click campaigns that just take all of like the confusion and issues around designing great emails as we just kind of basically do it all for you. So I'll show you what these are and then of course how to actually make more custom ones. What's great about our platform too is based on how many subscribers you have, you can always send as many emails as you want. And then finally, because we are a vacation rental specific tool, we can do much deeper integrations with property management software that you would find anywhere else. So what that means is number one, we will source data from your software. So not just guest data, but other data about the guests and the state that they're involved with to bring that all together into one tool that you can use. So we'll find all the emails that you have potential to email to, as well as other data we'll bring in. And then now we have some really cool features that actually leverage property and booking information to help you build templates as well. So we can look, for instance, and pull in information about your properties into an email, things like image, price, availability, to help you build emails even faster. And I'll show you how to do those things in StayFi. So just a little kind of like general advice that I give for anyone starting email marketing is first of all, make sure you understand what is it that you want to get out of your email marketing campaigns. And you may have different goals or different types of campaigns. And I definitely think that's all about understanding your business seasonality and how do these two things come together to build a really dynamic email marketing strategy. So for instance, are there times of year that are slower than other times of year? And how can you use email to help boost occupancy in weaker times of the year? How can you use emails to maybe target specific properties that you want to have filled? How can you use email to build a loyal audience that wants to come back and book again and again? So kind of what are those key differentiators that you want to get across to your audience about why they should book direct versus book through an OTA, right? Lots of different reasons why you'd want to use email marketing, and I'll show you some examples from actual StayFi users. What I always tell folks is they should start with automation. So in StayFi, we have arrival emails, departure emails, anniversary emails. Those are always a great place to start, just because once you set those up, they're going to be sent to every single guest automatically at some point during the stay. And that way you can make sure that even if you don't have time to do a newsletter every month, that everyone's at least getting some email content and seeing your brand and learning about who you are and why they should book directly as opposed to booking through an OTA for their next stay. And then finally, newsletters are definitely something you should invest in once your list is starting to get larger so that you can send relevant information about events, availability, partnerships, your team, anything it is to kind of build the story of your brand and keep your brand in the inbox on a regular basis. Because the one thing you want to kind of like overall, what I definitely think email can help do is by just appearing in someone's inbox every month, you can make sure that when they are in the next kind of trip planning mode, let's say, where they're considering your destination, they remember, oh, hey, not only should I be looking on Airbnb or Vrbo or Kayak or Booking.com, I also will remember to go look at this company's website because, I've gotten that message drilled to my head a few times that booking there may be like less expensive than an OTA. And you can show that proof point on your website and just make sure that, hey, when this person is looking to travel again, that they remember your brand. And just being in their inbox at least once a month is a great way to achieve that kind of billboarding effect, where they're not just going to remember Airbnb, they're going to remember you and hopefully the value proposition around booking direct, which is why you really want to repeat that message several times. And I'll show you some examples that help accomplish that. First, I'm going to talk about automations, as I really think this is where everyone should start, because this just makes sure everyone's receiving your email, especially when they subscribe. Because the worst thing to do is to build a really big email list and not email anyone for months and months and months. Because then when you go and email somebody a year or 2 years after they subscribed, they're going to forget who you are, right? And there's a much higher likelihood they're going to unsubscribe or even mark it as spam. So it's just really important that you set up these types of automations just to make sure that folks are seeing your content right when they subscribe and therefore will stay engaged with your emails. We have three right now that are set up in StayFi, which I'll show you. One is Wi-Fi Welcome. This is probably the most important one and gets the highest engagement rate. So right when a guest joins the Wi-Fi, it will trigger an email. Obviously, since they're in the property, typically at the first day, you can send a lot of valuable information in this email and make that very easy to do. And also, this is a great way to make sure you are introducing your brand to the non-booking guests, right? So this may be actually the first touch point you have with most of the reservations, since they're not the ones who have been corresponding with you as the booker. Then we have post departure, really great way to follow up with your guests, really reinforce that book direct message or whatever value prop you want to let people know on their way out. And then finally, stay anniversaries can be a very cool way to target folks who stayed with you before. It's X months before your next stay or X months before you traveled here last year. Do you want to come back and book again? So first I'll talk about Wi-Fi Welcome. So first I'll show you the example, and then I'll actually go into the StayFi platform to show you how to set this up. Wi-Fi Welcome, again, it's right when the guest logs in. This company, Cotel, used our Wi-Fi Welcome template that we have built into StayFi. So what you can see here is they are leading right with their kind of key links. So first things to do, where to dine and drink, visit our website, uh, list of extras in your room. So they've kind of customized these links. I'll show you how to do that. And then finally, we have this built in, this book your next stay, direct and stave. Really making sure that in that first email, and you'll see this repeated in all of the emails, keeping that message with the guest to let them know, no matter which OTA you booked on, if you want to return direct, you will save on all those OTA fees. You can see here, they just turned this on. They've had 151 recipients. I think they just operate this one property. So you can see here, this is StayFi for kind of a hotel slash STR type of setup here. This is an insane open rate of 98%. That's extremely high. But what I will say is that we always see the Wi-Fi welcome email have an extremely high open rate because they log into the Wi-Fi, immediately receive it. We know they're on their phone or computer. It just is at a great point of engagement. And then click-through rate 11%, which means that, over 1 in 10 people who see this email actually click through a link, which again is extremely high. Kind of show you again what to do with Wi-Fi Welcome. It's right here, and you just hit set up here. What I will just say is before you dive in, I would just make sure that all of these things are green if they apply to you. That just means these are all the different ways that you can collect data. A really important one is that you do go into your property management software and you do sync it and do a historical import so we can get more data from there as well. The Wi-Fi welcome, though, is only sent to guests that log into the Wi-Fi. So it's not going to be sent to guests or emails that we source through your PMS or through pre-arrival forms or through a CSV list. It's just to folks logging into the Wi-Fi. When you select this one, you'll see we have kind of two different structures for the email. I'll click on this one on the left. And then right away, you can see on the right here, these are kind of like how the pre-built email looks. And we already basically filled in text here that will work right away. But of course, you can go here on the left and you can deselect sections, reselect them, edit the text. We have these dynamic merge fields. So welcome to property name, first name. You can decide if you want this main image or not. And we have some area for if you want to add some more custom text under this email, under this image. And then finally, before down here, we have these links. So what's important to remember, and I'm not going to go through all the setups of homepage, right? But when you go through Wi-Fi experience, you're going to create this homepage for each property. That homepage is like a link tree. It can include things like upsells, things like book, late checkout, go through our host store and book tours and activities through Viator. We have all of those affiliates and partnerships built in. This link will automatically fill in with the homepage for that property. So we go through all the pain of doing merge fields for you. It's already done here. So this link will automatically go to the homepage. Guidebook, this is an important one. So I will just show very quickly over here. If you want to include an additional link to a guidebook, for each property, you just want to make sure you associate a guidebook URL. So you can click through each property, make sure you have one. That way, if you use a guidebook product like TouchStay, Happy Guest, Hostfully, there's a ton out there, right? You can link right to that guidebook from the email. If you don't have a guidebook for your properties, we'll go back here, then you can also just unselect this and that square will go away. You can also, let's say you just have one guidebook for all properties, or you have a different type of website you want to send people to, you can just fill a link here. Maybe instead of a guidebook, you have a blog post on your website about like things to do in the area. You are more than welcome to change just the title of this. So then change over here, read our blog about XYZ. And then you can put a link in here that will be sent in this email, right? So if you don't have a specific, thing that you want to share, or you don't have guidebooks, right, you can repurpose these links for something else. I actually use the custom block for that because the custom block, you can have a different title. This one actually says guidebook always. So I would use the custom block for the blog post. And then visit our website, of course, that will be the same for all emails. So really it's just the homepage one and the guidebook one where we're going to dynamically fill in this link with the homepage, which is obviously a StayFi product, so we know exactly which homepage to send. And then guidebook is definitely one where you want to go through each property, make sure you have a guidebook associated. And if you don't, just deselect this one and you can create a custom one down here, maybe with a blog post where you have like things to do in the area, or you can just not have any block at all. It's totally up to you, right? And then finally, we have this book direct and stay widget here. This is the one I was talking about that we kind of include this in a lot of emails because it's something that if direct booking is generally cheaper on your website than an OTA, you definitely want to reinforce the message over and over again, is that is typically the number one reason guests are going to book direct over going through a third party, right? And here you have the option to add a promo code. With promo codes, we have this note here. StayFi doesn't manage promo codes for your website. So that's one you either want to set up through your website software or your property management software, however it works for you. And definitely a promo code can be great just because it's a great way to do attribution because everyone who booked using the promo code got it from this email. Once you set up this email, right, it's really going to make me fill these in. I just want to show you kind of the next steps here. And I'm not going to go through, I'll show you the other email builders. I'm not going to go through every step. I just wanted to do the first one just so you can see the whole process. A lot of the things are obviously going to be the same between emails, things like how the merge fields work, as well as how like the book direct and other kind of pieces of this website work. Then you set a subject. Then you're going to have a sender. So you can have a sender, whatever your brand name is. And then you have an email that it's being sent from. So this is an important thing to note is that a lot of times people may reply to these emails, especially other types of emails. Let's say you send an email being like, here are 4 properties with availability this next month. Someone may email back with a question or wanting to book it. So you definitely want to have a domain or an email address that you're monitoring because you may get replies that have booking inquiries. You can also have the kind of email that people see in their inbox be different than the reply. So maybe it being sent from info@stayfi.com, but the replies I want to be sent to me. And then our software will automatically make sure that it's forwarded to the actual email that you want to manage replies from. Just important to note that you don't have just replies sent to an email inbox that no one's looking at, just because people do actually respond to emails with questions, wanting to book properties, especially if you're, featuring properties in an email. So just something to note there. At this point, once I get to the setup is done, it's going to dump you into this automation builder. So at this point, the setup is totally, this email is ready to go. I can turn on the journey. However, from here, this is where you can kind of take things to the next level if you want. So one thing to note is when you go to edit the content here, it's not going to take you to the kind of very simple StayFi builder. It's going to take you to the full builder. That means if there is further customization you want to do that you can't do in our builder, you can do it here. You can change the button colors, you can add more sections, you can do basically anything you want. You can even like edit this email in HTML. So if you see the email that we're building for you is like 90% what you want, but you want to make a few changes, you can still proceed to the step, then make more changes in like the more custom builder over here. So once it's in this automation section, you can do a lot more edits. You can also send a text, you can preview it, all sorts of stuff. The other thing you can do here is you can add additional steps. So maybe you want to send another email in a day, or you want to send another email in a week. You can actually extend this series. So we're going to build the first automation, but then you can send an email 5 days later or 1 day later or whatever you want. So we kind of start the automation for you. And then you can always come back here into automations, go back to your welcome automation, and then make more edits, right? So the builder from the main page here really kind of jumps you off. We'll set up that first email, but then you can take it further, especially the post departure email. That may be one where you want to add more steps, right? So Wi-Fi welcome sent when they log in, post departure sent when they leave or certain days after they leave. Then maybe after post departure, you want to send another email in a month. So once you've created that first email, you can then go into the automation builder here and make it a lot more complicated, or add more steps, or really whatever you want to do, because there's a ton more options in here that we don't present through the easy builder. Next is post departure. I'm not going to go through all the steps here, but again, our post departure builder will lead you through kind of through the easy builder. Here you can see this person uses a promo code here. You can see the click rate is a little lower. Great way to offer, you want to come back again. Here's a promo code for your next stay. This is one where maybe you, because we're sending this to everybody after they leave, maybe this is one where you want to add another step and send another email in a month. And you can all do that through the builder once you kind of jump off from the first email. And finally, stay anniversary. So this is a really cool one. This is one where we see a lot of rebookings, especially if you know you're in a market that has a lot of annual travelers. I definitely would recommend setting this up. And the key thing here that I will just note, if we go through the builder again, is in this email, we actually include the featured properties widget. So this is something that we've added to a ton of emails. And so I'm going to show you how that works here. So if I go import from PMS, I can now import properties directly into my email, which will make it much, much easier to build. And you can search these by availability or by property. Since this is an email that's going to be sent kind of at a rolling basis, not like a one-off, I'm going to use search by property. And this way, it's just a really easy way. Let's say I want to feature 4 properties. I just click the 4 properties that I want to feature, hit continue with 4 properties, and we will go ahead and just stick these in here. So just be some, ideas for your next stay. Here are those properties right in your email. You can see here, if we can't find certain things like short description in from your PMS, because every PMS kind of has slightly different data, you can then add that here. We also don't have a date range or a price. That's only for when we're looking like at specific dates. Do we then include those? The thing to know about the stay anniversary email is the default is always 10 months after they last stayed with you. And I'll show you in a second how to change that because you kind of want to adjust that distance to kind of like what is the right booking window for your business. So if you know that like 10 months or 2 months until the next day, everything's going to already be booked, that's not probably going to work well because then people are going to get this email, go to your website and see that everything is already booked, right? So you kind of want to send this at the right time where you know that this is a window where there'll still be good availability on your website. They can still make a booking, probably where they want to go, and then not everything will be full. So, but if you're a very last minute oriented destination, maybe you want to make this 11 months. So the default's 10 months, but then once you get to this point here, again, you can change this. So maybe you want to say 8 months. And then maybe in the email copy, you want to be like, hey, it's been 8 months since you stayed with us. If you want to come again at the same time, make sure you book now to get what you want, right? So you can adjust the amount of period of time from since they first stayed with you just to make sure you're sending this at the right time. And then again, you can adjust this, you can add more steps, you do whatever you want before you turn it on. And of course, this is where you can test the email and then get into the more robust builder if you want to make some additional edits. This particular company, they decided to send this 1 year after the last stay. I kind of personally am more leaning into like the 10, 9 months, whatever makes sense, to try to encourage that repeat same time of year travel, if that makes sense for your destination. And then, of course, they also have a unique promo code here. Again, measure the effectiveness of this specific type of campaign. Next, I'm going to talk about newsletters. So again, newsletters, we have these pre-built options, or you can use the full builder to build something more custom. So again, totally up to you. What's cool about the newsletters is we actually now can use this upcoming availability feature. This is one that has some of the highest effectiveness when it comes to driving bookings because you're actually aligning availability and price and sending what you actually have available on your website to your audience to really discourage the chance, especially if you're on the smaller side of them coming to your website and being disappointed because what they want to book is not available. That's kind of this feature's available in like pretty much all our emails, but I'll show you in the actual upcoming availability template here how to use this. So again, takes us to our builder here. Definitely recommend considering using a promo code for this. And then finally, under featured properties, here's where you pick. You may only have one property, up to 4. You hit import from PMS. Here's where you're going to do search from availability. And maybe I want to look, at this period in May, maybe this weekend, and think I have some nights that are still available last minute to book. Here you'll actually see, here are the different properties that are available those nights. So only will return ones that are available, as well as the price and dates they're available. So again, I can select the properties I want to feature. And then what's cool about here is we actually will show the dates available, as well as the nightly rate for this period of time, whatever it is. And that way, people can see right in your email, if there's a property that interests them. This is definitely really effective for if you are in a drive-through destination or one where people can take last minute stays. You can definitely send, a monthly email being like, here's what's available the weekends this month still, right? So you can use this in a bunch of different ways. This is also a great way if you have some very high demand times of year. Let's say like July 4th is a really big time of year for you, and maybe you're already 80% booked for July 4th, even right now in April. You could send this email to your list saying like, hey, these are the only properties left for July 4th. You better book now or else you may not be able to come at that time, right? So you can use this either for like last minute availability, I think is very effective, as well as trying to get those direct bookings on those very high demand periods of the year and then not having to get those through an OTA, right? So you can really push those to your direct booking website and give people an incentive to book there for those very high demand periods of the year versus going through or getting a booking later down the line on Vrbo. Love last minute availability, love cancellations. If you have cancellations, feature them here. Things like that can drive really high conversions with your audience. I know for this email this company sent, it was about like a last minute weekend stay, and I definitely know they got a booking through this email. And crazy high again, open and click through rate using this type of email. The promo campaign, again, this is a really fast one to send. So the promo is the most simple newsletter we have in the platform. So if you just really need to send an email, you're kind of in a bind, you just want to send a promo code, this is a really basic one to send. And again, you can try different strategies here. Here was one where you get book 3 nights, get a fourth 3 free. I love that. That's like a very much like hotel style discount. And so you can incentivize length of stay. I think that's also a great thing to consider, especially if that's operationally less expensive for your business to have longer stays. Yeah, it's a great thing to build some promotion around that and test that with your audience and see how it works. This is a really interesting one. Um, this is from a company that also does uh, real estate in addition to vacation rentals. So I think something to consider is a lot of people just think about this audience that you're building with StayFi. It's only for your short-term rental business. I know from experience that a lot of our customers are also real estate agents or brokers, and there's some interplay between their brokerage business and their short-term rental business. And so it often is the case that people that travel frequently to a destination and vacation there often are the types of people who may end up purchasing their own home there and then needing it to be managed as a vacation rental. So again, this user used our tool to build this type of email, which is a very simple thing to do. And they used the general builder. So right now I just showed you these general kind of campaigns. If I go to templates, I just kind of want to show you how to do it this way if you want to build something more custom or something that is outside of kind of what our normal ones do. I definitely recommend hitting choose from design. And then you can see here, these are all of the kind of different options within the platform that you can also build off of. So you are not just limited to our like very vacation rental specific ones. There's all sorts of different ones in here. And then again, through here, you use the more custom builder. So with this, each section, you can change the picture, you can add links, and then everything is drag and drop. So if you want to add new text sections, it's all very simple to do through here. But this is just kind of the more robust builder that you can also use, right? So if you don't see what you want to send through our kind of like pre-built templates, definitely go into templates and you can build pretty much anything you want. And there's a ton of templates there to start from. There's also like, even if you want to get more custom, there's other options in here as well, like HTML. Maybe you have a designer with emails doing it outside of that. They have this, I don't think it works that well, but you can use this like if you enter in your URL, it will kind of like design email with your colors already. So there's just lots of different options here too, or you can choose a recent email. So you could choose like our pre-built email and then build something a little bit different on top of that as well. So all those options are here if you don't find exactly what you need in our main email builder. Another type of email that I know is really successful is things around holidays or high times of year and emailing those really far in advance. One strategy that I love that I talked to one of our operators about is that they always open their calendar on their direct booking website before they open it or list it on OTAs like Airbnb and Vrbo. That's another way you can frame this email as well, is you can say for Christmas or whatever your premium times of years are, let people know that, hey, it's only available on the website and you can get that booking for less than you pay in an OTA, and then it will be released on Airbnb next month. So we're only releasing it to our loyal folks that have stayed with us before we go out to the general audience. That way you can ensure that you're getting as many direct bookings as you can before you're then moving on to your general audience through an OTA to market. And then obviously getting bookings typically further out, they're going to be longer at higher rates. Most of the dynamic pricing tools, as dates approach, they kind of cut prices, right? So this way you can secure bookings further in advance at a higher rate directly, and then open those, each month on an OTA after you've pushed it through your direct booking website. New property announcements are another one that we see perform really well. So if you are adding new properties, whether as an owner or a property manager, this is another type of email that I would definitely consider including. We don't have one built for this yet. So what you can do is use our general newsletter template and then kind of edit it to achieve this goal. So again, maybe you want to, instead of 4 properties, maybe you just want to feature one, and then you're going to import that one property from the PMS. Then you can remove some of these other sections. We have like a property management section that we always put in here, but you don't have to include that, right? So you can use our general newsletter template to then maybe feature that one property. So like our new property. And this is great, especially I recommend adding your owners to your newsletters as well, just to make sure that you are reaching them as well, because then they can see that you are marketing their properties in ways that go beyond just listing them on the OTAs. Actually, just going to not feature that right now, just so I can show you one other thing on this next step that's really important. One thing to note here is first we do the sender. And then what's different about when you send the one-off newsletter versus when you're sending the automation is the automation, we've already set up the list and who we're sending it to. So for instance, Wi-Fi Welcome, we're sending it to everyone who's subscribed to the Wi-Fi. When you're sending a newsletter, then you have the ability to pick who you're sending it to, right? Because you can decide which people you want to reach. Um, the key thing here when you hit select recipients, we're going to create different lists in StayFi. So we have PMS guests, pre-arrival guests, Wi-Fi guests. Then you can even upload your own list, as well as you can add people manually to one of those lists. So for instance, you could have an owner's list that you upload and you want to keep them on your newsletter as well, so they see what you're marketing to guests. And then, of course, you can also make forms through here to put on your website and get people from your website. So you could have a website list too, where you can create a form from StayFi and collect people on your website, right? The key thing about newsletters is if you are importing data from your PMS and you're using our pre-arrival feature and Wi-Fi and you have other lists, I see sometimes that people only select the Wi-Fi list at this step. I would say, obviously, if you're sending a newsletter about upcoming availability or about a property announcement, you just want to make sure that you are sending it to all the guests and to all the subscribers you have within StayFi where this is relevant. Other thing to know is sometimes people ask, how do I send emails to specific segments? And one thing that sometimes people can't find or easily find within our platform is how to create segments of guests. So I'll talk about that briefly here. So within, let's say I'll look at Wi-Fi guests. It's usually the largest list. Within there, we have a bunch of fields that you can build segments on. The one I get asked about the most is properties or property groups. Like, I just want to send an email to people that stayed at these homes or in this area. So within segments, you can build segments uh, where the custom field for a property group, which might be the area, contains X, Y, or Z. And you can have an or, so you have like multiple properties, or you can have and, so they meet 2 criteria. You can really create any segments you want, and you can name them anything you want. And then when you go to campaigns, you'll see segments available as well. So, generally, I would send a newsletter to as many people as you can, to the widest audience. But sometimes people want to send very specific campaigns to specific groups of people, and you want to use the segment tool to build those lists of or sub lists within this list of very kind of like specific groups of people, and I do get that a lot. The other question I see a lot is how to collect data from your website. So if you make a new list and you go to sign up form builder, this is where you can create sign up forms, like a pop-up, for instance, on your website. So create pop-up for your site, and you get some code, and then you can paste that into the header of your website, and this will pop up, and then we'll also source those subscribers in a new list here, right? So definitely make sure you're selecting as many subscribers are relevant for each campaign, just so you have the biggest impact. As I see a lot of people, for whatever reason, only selecting one of the lists, and we have multiple in there that you want to use. These are some other just kind of cool examples I wanted to show everyone to kind of give you more idea. Um, One is kind of putting in reviews or testimonials in an email. So right here, you can see here, someone pasted in a review about how this is totally worth visiting, and using kind of like user generated content in emails. So that's a really cool way to put content in an email if you're kind of like, I don't know what to send this month. Go look at your reviews and find the coolest reviews that you have and paste them into an email, right? And use that content. Um, Here you can see here, they had user generated content of people on a fishing trip. So they're kind of integrating again, kind of like activities in the area, reasons to come back and stay there, and using that to inspire guests to come back and stay with you. Another thing just to consider here is, let's say you signed up for the Viator affiliate program when you made your homepage. You can go log into that, find your favorite activities there, and then include those links in an email, right? So you're not just sending great ideas, you can also even potentially monetize them if anyone books through those links within a certain period of time, right? So definitely just think about mining guest information or testimonials or public reviews for your emails. And then also, if you're not sure what to send, think about what are your favorite activities and things to do and feature those in an email. This is just a great way to engage people with reasons to return. I've seen people do this also very effectively in destinations that are seasonal. So maybe you operate in a ski destination, but some other times of the year um, are weaker. Maybe do one on, mountain biking in your area and all the different mountain biking cool things and trails that you can do in this destination as well, so that you can try to grow people who are coming there just for one reason and having them come back for a different type of activity during a different type of year. And so activities are a great thing to include in emails, just because it kind of inspires people with what the experience is that they want to have coming to your destination. And then, of course, the final one here is local events. Local events are a big one. Um, I think definitely here, if you think about an event like Mardi Gras, I know we had the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and that was like a huge money maker for our operators that were there. Again, if you have these events that people book out far in advance, you definitely want to try to secure those bookings directly, as that can be a great way to kind of use that availability email and let people know these are the last events that are or last properties that are available for Mardi Gras. But of course, you may have events in your destination that are not as well known as Mardi Gras or Jazz Fest or the Super Bowl. And those can also be great reasons and things to include in your email. Things like, did you know about XYZ event in our city? So you can definitely use ChatGPT or just Google, what are the top events that drive tourism to my destination? And we'll give you a list of 10 or 12. And then you can use those in email. So definitely when it comes to content, don't be afraid to go onto an AI tool, ask kind of like, what are the top reasons people come to my destination? Can you give me a calendar of the year of events? So definitely think creatively of, if you're don't know what to send, because I do see that a lot in our kind of when you ask people like, why aren't you sending emails? We're like, I don't know what to send. Look at events, look at activities, look at new properties, look at last minute availability. There's so many different angles to approach it from, but the important thing is just to make sure you're sending on a regular basis. Because, like I said before, most people are not planning a trip at any time of the year, right? So most people are not actively planning a trip to New Orleans, right? But you just want to make sure that when somebody finally is in that trip planning mode, that they remember your brand. And the best way to achieve that is just being in their inbox at a regular cadence, which I think for most people is going to be about once a month. And then we see larger folks who have a lot of inventory and very large lists. Then they're getting up to higher frequency where they're emailing every month or, I mean, every week or every other week. Oh, and I forgot this one here. Just one more great example if you're just kind of like don't know what to send. I love this particular one from Hosting from the Heart. They have an email they send as part of their kind of welcome series. So again, they use that Wi-Fi welcome email or departure email, and then they added another email after it where they introduce who they are, the team. This is such a great way if your family or your team is kind of like a core part of your brand and who you are. This is such an amazing way to differentiate yourself from a generic Airbnb or VRBO, uh, is by just introducing who you are and telling your story and building that connection with guests and showing them you offer a lot more than like a standard STR in those platforms, right? So here you can see they start with their story, they introduce their people, like these are actual real humans that are running this business, which I just think is such a fantastic thing to include. And then finally here, they even have this kind of like upsell opportunity of, hey, we can help plan adventures and excursions, and we have, our own fleet of vans, which is so awesome, right? So they're kind of integrating upsells with the story, right? So it's all together in a beautiful package. And you can see again, this has exceptionally high open and engagement rates. And this is just, really just keep that conversation going about your own brand versus an OTA and just making sure that people are remembering who you are for when it comes time to book that next trip. So just some final takeaways here before we go over to the questions where I see we have a few. Most important thing, definitely take away is consistent. C is key. So start with automations, then layer on newsletters. You definitely want to try to be in everyone's inbox at least once a month. And that's just going to make sure that when someone's in trip planning mode, they remember who you are. And most importantly, the value prop for booking direct, which for 99% of people is, we're offering a lower price than if you go through an OTA. Discounts can be really powerful. They're also a really great way to drive attribution. I know everyone not wants to do discounts, but just think about maybe you can offer something for repeat travelers to book you, especially when it comes to last minute availability. So definitely, if you haven't already, go in, connect your property management software with StayFi, connect your properties, and leverage those tools like last minute availability, just because that's a really easy way to generate very clear ROI of these properties were not booked. It was getting very close to the dates where they were going to be empty. And then we use StayFi email to fill them with guests, right? So, obviously it's important, and a lot of people have this goal of I want to slowly decrease my usage of OTAs and increase my overall direct booking percentage. Sometimes people just forget about this value of getting a book night that otherwise would have gone unbooked, right? And last minute availability is a great way to do that. Um, Highlight what makes your property special. Again, it really depends who you are, what your focus is. But new property announcements featuring homes is just a really great way to build your brand, but as well as build that owner loyalty. So if you haven't already, I definitely would consider uploading a list of your owners if you are a property manager to a separate list within StayFi, and then considering adding them to some of your newsletters just so that they can see you are going above and beyond a quote unquote standard property manager that's primarily relying on OTAs. If it doesn't work that well already, make sure you have a decent direct booking website. One strategy I'll just mention here is, let's say you know that your direct booking website is not that great. Maybe it's not that easy to use. Maybe you haven't invested that much time, or your property management software's direct booking website that you're using like isn't that great. If you're open to taking bookings over email or over the phone, something to consider is writing in emails, whether they're plain text or the newsletters, letting people know that you can also email or call to make a booking. That's a super great way just to get people to write you back and say, hey, I'm looking to travel to this destination on these dates, what's available? And then you can complete that transaction over email with somebody that you trust who have stayed with you before, obviously, if they came from the Wi-Fi. So if you know your website is maybe not the best in the world, there are ways to divert guests to other channels to have them make a booking, which I think is just an important thing to consider. Your brand team, consider adding that as well. Positive testimonials are great. Yeah, and then thankfully our kind of pre-built builder makes emails look visually interesting, but of course you can go and customize it using kind of like the general email building tool. Sweet. With that, I will now switch over to questions, which I see we have quite a few. Okay. Someone asked, we have some questions about text marketing, so that's interesting. Someone asked, I have over 100 emails and phone numbers. How can I get permission from those customers to start text marketing with them? So in general, I would say text marketing has a much higher bar that we want to clear for an opt-in. So when it comes to email, uh, we let you upload lists of emails. You can email them. For text, we really, really, really want to make sure that every phone number we collect, we authorized or has authorized to receive texting. There are also a lot of nefarious players out there. Like people try to use our texting tool all the time to like send tens of thousands of spam messages with like stolen credit cards. And the way that we just prevent any misuse of text marketing is you have to have opted in through StayFi to use or to like send a message to that guest. So if you want to do text marketing, you have to go to text marketing and StayFi, turn on collect phone numbers, and then the only contacts we will allow you to text market are those that have opted in to text marketing through StayFi, and that just really protects us as a text marketing platform from nefarious operators who will like buy a list of phone numbers and upload them. So unfortunately, if you didn't have this turned on, you're not going to be able to text those numbers, to be very blunt. So the only people you will be able to text are people that you do collect through StayFi. And when you turn this collect phone numbers on, we will automatically add the phone number field and the opt-in field to all of your splash pages. And then in contacts, you will see all the folks that have opted in here. Um, Someone asked about exporting the guest list. Yes, so in the guest list here, we do, unfortunately, they want to have first and last be separate. So we have the name as one. If you take this and go to like Google Sheets, you can use, if you go to like help, like separate columns, you can separate names and use like a space to separate them into first and last name. So I'm not sure if you go to, if you actually go to email marketing and go to your Wi-Fi guest list, um, yeah, here we still have name as one field. So yeah, my best advice would be to download the guest list and then use Google Sheets or Excel where you can like split one column into multiple columns and use the space as a way to split first and last name into separate columns. Um, Someone says in the email list section, I have historical import in orange. Yes, so if you see this as orange, which means you haven't completed historical import, you should be able to click through and do it here. Or if you go to guest list, you can go to import PMS guests, and then you can make sure you import all the data that you've collected in your PMS for email marketing by hitting import guests here. Uh, Also, maybe your PMS isn't connected, so I would just make sure to go to integrations and make sure you connect it first. But yeah, you can import through here in the guest list, or you should be able to import it, I believe, on the email marketing tool if you haven't already. Um, yes, so you can definitely do it through the guest list. Someone asked how you can do a text campaign, how to coordinate that with an email campaign. Yes, of course. So let's say you're sending a text campaign with a promo code. So we'll just do a very basic case. You would go to send group text, and then you can name the campaign here. But basically, you would create the text to be like first name, get X% off when you book on our website. And then you can put in your website URL here. We'll automatically replace URLs with a trackable link. So you can see here, I wrote stayfi.com. On the right here, it's already this kind of like special URL. And that way you'll actually be able to track in here the number of people that click this link and then go to your website. If you go to text marketing, it doesn't look like this. Basically, you want to turn it on. And then there is like a few days where we have to basically issue you a 1-800 number. So like a number that we send a one-way marketing message from. And you also set up an auto responder. So if people text back, we don't do like two-way text communication. You kind of give them a preferred way to send it back. So yeah, so you can use a group text to amplify whatever messages you're sending in your email. So you launch a new property, you send a text being like, check out our new property. You want to do a promo, you can then mirror that here. We also mirror the welcome message. This one's really important because, again, if you're using our homepage for upsells and to have your guidebook, this way you can text the link to the homepage right when the guest logs in, and then they'll have very easy access to it over the course of the stay. Someone asks in the email, like, why are only four available properties? I have 16. So in the email builder for now, you can only feature four properties per email that you're pulling in from your PMS. Um, but of course, you could manually add more. But for right now, this is just limited to four. I wouldn't the problem is if you make your emails very long, they actually get automatically cut off by like Gmail. I'm sure you've gotten an email or any email browser. I'm sure you got an email before where it's like can't show you the whole message, right? So there's just like a limit to the size and length we want emails to be in general. So we kind of have this section where you can do up to four. And obviously, if you featured all 16 in emails, properties in one email, what are you going to feature the next one, right? So I think this is nice to kind of rotate, show different properties in different emails. So right now, featured properties is limited to just up to four. But of course, you can, when you import it, select different ones for each time that you send. Someone else, I may have missed it, but do you send different emails to the book guests through PMS and the in-property Wi-Fi sign-up folks? I, yeah, everyone gets the same newsletter thought. So for these automated campaigns, the Wi-Fi welcome post departure stay anniversary, we are just sending that to the Wi-Fi guest list. So obviously they arrive, they log into the Wi-Fi, we trigger that email. It's when you send the one-off campaigns that then you can include like a wider scope of people, including data you've collected other places, like through your PMS, you uploaded yourself, or kind of pre-arrival capture. I would say that StayFi generally, for the most part, when it's not used for like pre-arrival communication with the booker. Obviously, property management software and a unified inbox, that's what it's made for, right? We're really picking up the marketing once they're in the property and then once they leave, because that's not what the PMS typically is going to do for you, right? So that, information about the home, the door lock codes, all that stuff, great to have in your PMS or like another tool like an Enso Connect or Suite Op, where you're doing that like unified inbox communication through like a ton of automation and very complex like conditions and you know rental agreements and all that stuff, right? So definitely that's not what StayFi is built for. We're definitely with a place where we're going to synthesize and gather all the data possible and then really take over that post-stay marketing. So some of the automations, like the ones I talked about, are very specific to Wi-Fi guests. But then when it comes to like general newsletters, you can send it to everybody. You can also build, again, if you're more advanced, you can build custom automations here based for any data you want. So you could build a segment, right? That's like, or everybody, you could go to your PMS guest list and build a segment based on like 3 days after their stay or 3 days after they book or some just other data. And you could build an automation for one of the other lists, whether it's a PMS guest list, the pre-arrival. You could build an automation for data that you collect on your website. So like the subscriber form, send it there. So you can build more complex automations to the other subscriber lists if that's something you want to do. But in general, right now, the ones here, it's for the Wi-Fi data, which for most people is the vast majority of the data. newsletters and campaigns are for typically everybody, and you can select all the different lists you want to send to. But of course, you can use automations, campaign segments, and get a lot more complicated and target very specific groups of people in different ways, right? So really the world is your oyster. All of the tools are there. These are just kind of like the simplified ones that we offer that people can set up very easily. Someone asked about so right now, unfortunately, like I said before, we don't have other mechanisms to sign up for text marketing. That's something that we're looking for. Someone asked, like, can I have people opt in a different way? For now, we don't have that, but that's definitely something that we want to have in the future. Yeah, so for just right now, definitely recommend turning this on. This is great because even if you're not sending text now, at least you'll have the opt-in to do in the future. Someone asked about duplicates. Um, so that's a great question. So right now we can have the same email in like the PMS guest list and the Wi-Fi guest list. Um, so right now the answer is yes. But if you send an email to both lists, we only send one email. So we don't like double send anybody the same email. There is different data associated with the guests when we collect them from different sources. It may not surprise you, but we're moving in the direction of perhaps having one list with a lot more holistic data and understanding of each guest and their preference, more like a traditional CRM. But yeah, so for right now, we can have the same guests in different lists. However, if you send an email to multiple lists, they're not going to get the email twice, right? So it will still deduplicate in that sense. Someone's asked if TouchJ, yeah, so right now we can't get opt-in. Someone asked if we can collect text marketing opt-in from TouchStay for our texting tool. The answer is no. But I would recommend is we want to help you get the most out of your TouchStay app. And the best way to do that within StayFi is make sure that you're sending everybody that link to their TouchStay for that property. So I definitely would make sure that you go to your properties in StayFi. You can actually use the bulk editor here. So it'll be very simple.